And you can see how he'd say that.
Right. Okay, time to move on to aphorism 218. The psychologists of France, and where else are any psychologists left today? Nietzsche as a comedian is underappreciated, folks.
Absolutely.
Still have not exhausted their bitter and manifold delight in the bêtise bourgeoisie, the bourgeois stupidity, just as if, enough, this betrays something. Flaubert, for example, that solid citizen of Rouen, in the end no longer saw, heard, or tasted anything else anymore. This was his kind of self-torture and subtler cruelty. Now, for a change, since this is becoming boring, I propose another source of amusement, the unconscious craftiness with which all good, fat, solid, mediocre spirits react to higher spirits and their tasks. That subtle, involved, Jesuitical craftiness, I'm going to have to apologize for Nietzsche's occasional religious pejoratives, which is 1,000 times more subtle than not only the understanding and taste of this middle class is at its best moments, but even the understanding of its victims, which proves once again that instinct is of all kinds of intelligence that have been discovered so far, the most intelligent. In short, my dear psychologists, study the philosophy of the norm and its fight against the exception. There you have a spectacle that is good enough for gods and godlike malice. Or, still more clearly, vivisect the good man, the homo bone voluntatis, man of goodwill, yourselves. Martin, take it away.
So, one thing about Nietzsche, so like, what did Nietzsche read when he wasn't writing philosophy? Well, he read philosophy, of course, and he read classics, especially dramas.
His formal background is philology.
Exactly.
And can you explain what philology is?
It's like the study of classic texts,
okay.
more or less. So sometimes it's treated as a subset of linguistics, because it asks a lot of technical questions about language and how words develop over time in different texts. But yeah, it's like the study of classic texts really seriously. And so like his doctoral thesis was on specific Greek playwrights and how their ideas of virtue were enacted in society in this particular way. It's called the birth of tragedy, or the death of tragedy. I forget. But so, Nietzsche read classics. He read philosophy, as might be obvious. But the other thing that Nietzsche was reading a lot of was psychology. In particular, like even biological psychology and neurology, things that were coming out in the late 1800s. And so there is probably buried in this passage a bunch of references that we just don't get to particular psychologists that were writing at the time that people who were also reading this stuff would get. But I think the basic idea here is, and this is still a thing in modern psychology, like I'm going to be a psychology grad student at some point in the future.
Unless you don't and your life comes to a complete end.
Yes, either that or I will die a failure.
Oh shit.
Yeah, no,
Didn't Nietzsche talk about the herd?
The herd, there it is. The herd and the exceptional man. There it is. What is the herd's relation to the exceptional man?
Apparently being shot with this is not the silence pistol, this is the snub nose. Oh my god, Travis, this is horrible. This is, not Travis, Leon. Leon,
oh
this
boy.
is horrible. This is, genuinely awful.
This is as good as...
Leon and Martin are going to talk about the herd while I refill my cup of water.
Okay. Well, so yeah, there you see Nietzsche giving advice to psychologists. And even today in psychology, it's a big thing. How do we treat measures of the mean in a population? So look, we can go through a population of...
If I just hang here, they won't ever notice me.
Yeah, that's false.
Unless they do.
I'll wait till you die. Oh, there you go. Not so exceptional after all.
The herd.
More like the Undermensch.
Yeah, Leon is no Ubermensch.
Untermensch.
Yeah, Unter, not under.
Learn your
Unter.
fucking
Unter.
German.
Yeah, god damn it. Martin,
Mm.
which German philosopher are you? There are several.
Oh, Heidegger.
That's unfortunate.
Classic Nazi.
Hey, the magician of Menskirk. Don't.
Well, I guess if you're Heidegger, you're a Nazi, and if you're Luther, you're just a raging anti-Semite.
Yeah. So with Luther, you get just the anti-Semitism. With Heidegger, you get the anti-Semitism and the genocide. So that's what you got.
Who's your favorite?
But anyway, no, I want
composer. I mean,
my favorite composer.
you like Wagner too?
I've been getting into Schoenberg actually.
Oh, right. I like Zizek. He's a really good composer.
All right, no, I have one more thing to say about this. So Nietzsche here is giving advice to psychologists, and even in today in psychology, we don't. There's debates about how do you treat the normal versus the abnormal. Like whenever we do abnormal psychology, how do we define
Shit.
abnormal and what things count as being abnormal?
Just fucking
And
threw my
you'd think
knife
that
into
have-
the ground.
You'd think that would have something to do with what the standard in the population is, and who falls very far from that standard. And there's a whole debates about this, but Nietzsche thinks that, really psychologists, and it's a little bit pithy, but really psychologists focus too much on the norm, and not enough on people who are, very exceptional or far from the norm. And so we end up with a psychology of the normal instead of the exceptional. And Nietzsche thinks
Nietzsche's
this
a real asshole.
He is an asshole. But I mean, so someone like Oliver Sacks will say the
Uh-huh.
same thing, and except without the elitism.
Mm-hmm.
And how Nietzsche critiques this, because he doesn't just think it's like screwed up that they ignore this group. He says, look, the norm is often determined in a lot of ways by exceptional people. Like he thinks entire generations of people were influenced by Beethoven's music, for instance, by this one person. And he thinks that something psychology has ignored is how normal people are influenced by the abnormal people, which is an inversion of how it usually is, right? It's usually like, how can us as normal people influence the abnormal to make them better?
Mm-hmm.
But for him, he flips that. He says, how are the normal people influenced by us super people?
All right.